Hey guys, so today is September 11th. Back in 2006, on the 5th anniversary of 9/11, I wrote down some of my memories from that day. September 11th, 2001, I'm sure everybody knows the significance of that date. I had just started my first semester of college, and I was living in an on-campus dorm. I was 17 years old, and I was looking forward to turning 18 that weekend. Since I was living in a dorm, I had a roommate. Her name was Jody. I had never met her before we moved in together, but we got along really great, and I liked her a lot. She was really sweet. We had our beds set up on, like, stilts. I don't know exactly what you call it. I forget because I haven't lived in a dorm in years. But both of our beds were raised up really high, and we had our desks and our storage and everything underneath our beds. At this time, I also had my very first job, and it was at one of the libraries on campus. So I'm saying all this stuff right now because some of it will explain, hopefully, some of the things that I talk about within the little story that I wrote, my memories from September 11th. So I'm just going to read you guys what I wrote. When my alarm clock went off, I literally tumbled out of bed. It seemed to be the only thing that could wake me up, the fright of possibly falling face first into the dorm room floor. Jody slept silently in her bed across the room as I threw on shorts and a t-shirt. I just had time to brush my teeth and my hair and walk quickly to my class before 9:30. I wasn't looking forward to the class. Honors Philosophy was my hated class of the semester, my first at the university. I walked out of my dorm room, locking the door behind me to keep Jody safe, and strolled down the hall. I could hear TVs on in the other rooms as I passed. Downstairs, in the common room, a lone student sat in her PJs, watching the news. I couldn't tell what it was, just lots of smoke. I didn't really care, it was just the news. Couldn't be that important, right? I walked to class and made it just in time. The professor walked in just after I took my seat in the midst of all the philosophy geeks. I hated that class. I noticed there weren't as many people as usual, but I just figured everyone had slept in that morning. The professor walked up to his little podium and said, "Well, I guess you all know what's happened in New York this morning." I looked around and saw a few people nodding. I was confused and hoped he'd explain what was going on. A girl behind me said that she had family in New York and she hadn't heard from them yet. I still didn't know what was going on. The professor decided to take a vote on whether we should have class or not. I voted against class. Hello, any opportunity to get out of that class was a good one. Or so I thought at the time. So he let us go. I walked back to my dorm, full of curiosity. Just what had happened in New York that morning. I got back to my room and turned on the TV. I tried not to wake Jody, but she heard the TV and got up. She asked what was wrong, and by that time I had already seen what everyone was talking about. So I told her. We both just sat and watched the news for a while. My mom called and asked if I had heard the news and if I was okay. I mean, I'd just been to New York in April of that year. I even had my favorite pictures I'd taken of the city pinned to my bulletin board. One of my favorites was of the New York City skyline from the Statue of Liberty. And there they were in the picture, the Twin Towers. And there they were on the TV, flames and smoke billowing through the hallways and out the windows, falling in a cloud of smoke and debris, the people below covered in ashes and hiding in fear and confusion. They replayed the footage of the second plane crashing into the South Tower, and I cringed every time. I wandered in a daze to my Math 110 class at noon. Even a national crisis couldn't stop math. But we didn't do much work that day. We mainly sat around and talked about what had happened. At work, we had the TV on. Between shelving books and helping patrons, we could sit and watch the chaos in the city, as other buildings collapsed, and in other places that had been affected by the terrorist attacks. And that's all we could do, watch as the events unfolded before our eyes. And that's the way I remember it.